Hi, Bradley.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, good. And I'm Christine with Where's Watson.
Nice to
Bradley
meet you.
Carrick is here today as a Red River College alumni, and I'm very pleased to be talking with him. Before we get started, I want to introduce Bradley a little bit because he's had an incredible, illustrious career that all started at Red River College. So, Bradley Carrick develops award winning concepts for theme parks, for shows, attractions, food and beverage, and retail. He's worked with some of the most iconic brands in the world, and he's a creative leader and innovator. He's reinvented the creative process to develop never before seen and unique experiences, images, and stories for guests around the world. His diversity provides him with the advantage to be creative beyond his time. The United States government recently awarded him a person of extraordinary abilities. Brad's expertise lies in leading diverse teams around the world, currently working in Saudi Arabia, often under extreme conditions, but always with extraordinary results. And that extraordinary career started at Red River College. So, Bradley, welcome to Where's Watson. And maybe you can start with why you chose Red River College and how it has led to such an amazing career of accomplishments and creative leadership.
Well, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that. So it kind of started from high school. I was, one of those guys that drew all the time in school, and it was it came to the end of graduation. And it was kind of a time to decide what to do from there. So I had a couple choices. One was go into music or go into mathematics, actually, or continue my career drawing. I was had kind of two choices, one going into the fine arts side of thing or the commercial art, and commercial art seemed to be the right thing to do. So I was looking for a school that offered that kind of education so that I could at least have that on my resume as well too, and not just simply a high school diploma. So within the whole country of Canada at the time, this was quite a while ago, Red River was the only place that offered a course like that in graphic design communications. And in order to get into that course, I actually had to submit a portfolio and apply and get interviewed before I was even accepted into the program. So that was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of work, and it was a real wake up to the reality of the business world actually. And that's how I kind of chose Red River. There was really no other institution that offered that level of education for graphic design.
Amazing. So, where did you go from Red River?
Well, once I graduated Red River, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. Actually, to be honest, I graduated with a bit of an attitude, like I was kind of all that, and I was going to change the world. And went back home to my parents, kind of lounged around for a while, and then decided, you know what, I really need to get it together. So I actually went back to Winnipeg, and applied for a couple jobs, and I got an interview to a company that was had a computer to do graphics on the computer. And at that time, that wasn't offered. That wasn't in the industry. So this was kind of a bleeding edge thing that, I was reading about in magazines and thought, I'll give it a try. So they looked at my portfolio. They're impressed by my portfolio that came out of the instruction abilities of the professors at Red River, which was really great. And I was given the opportunity with this job if I could set up the computer and start doing graphics on it right away. So I was really the first one to have that ability in Central Canada to start doing two-dimensional drawing graphics on a computer for output for commercial purposes. So it was a pretty big deal. I could only use 250 colors at one time. It was on a machine that is definitely a lot slower than your phone is today. So that's kind of how my career started out in computer graphics. And I took graphic design and two-dimensional graphics, eventually three-dimensional animation, and was producing covers and different graphics for corporations across Canada in a new, unique way that nobody's ever seen before. So it really took off from there. I was with that company for about 5 to 6 years, and then decided at that point it was time for me to open my own company.
Mm.
So at 25 years old, I opened my own company with one computer, one rotary dial phone. Again, it was a long time ago. and started on the Yellow Pages. I had a couple clients, but I started going through the Yellow Pages, cold calling, from first starting with the letters A and then B and then C. By the time I got to D, I hired my first employee, and then it started to really grow from there. And I broadened it from that point, expanding beyond Winnipeg and beyond Canada, in fact, into the United States. In around, about the 15th year of that company, it was pretty steadfast, and I was doing a lot of different work, very high-end work, a lot of conceptual work, and that's when I broke into doing work for places like Disney and Universal Studios.
Amazing. Maybe you could tell the audience around some of the projects that you have worked on, because some of them have been, $1 billion, and you've been the creative lead on billion-dollar projects. So maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the projects that you have worked on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with my own company, I started a couple other companies at the same time and invented a technology that you could put motion picture advertising inside subway tunnels. So that took me around the world. I installed in the top 12 subway systems of the world. That's technology that I created with LED lights. And when you ride the subway train from station to station, you'd actually see a full motion ad in all the windows of the train. So I was working from the technology side, installing these things. At the same time, I was visiting the top advertising agencies around the world and pitching the idea and then helping them with the creative. So I've done a lot of creative for the likes of Pepsi, Coke, GMC, you name all the big brands. I've certainly worked on them. So that was a new facet. And then after that, I decided I needed to go where the really big work was. And unfortunately, Canada's a great country, and I'm back here living again. But there's only 35 million people here versus over 300 million people in the United States. And United States, Florida, particularly Orlando, was the theme park capital of the world. So my wife and I moved there, and I'd been working there for the past 10 years and really moved into the sector with creating guest experiences. So it's taken all my knowledge of media, taking my knowledge of graphic design, user experience, and so on, and taking all of those things that I've worked on in my whole career and using them on a day-to-day basis. So I've done a lot of work in China. I spent a lot of time in China. I've probably been to more cities in China than I have in Canada or United States, in fact. I've designed attractions on Hainan Island in a place called Ocean Flower. It's a theme park there. I've designed attractions in other Chinese top-tier cities as well too. So that was a real opening, working internationally and working with translators constantly to kind of take the lead and direct, in excess of 100 plus people and design these kinds of things. And more recently now, I've been working in Saudi Arabia. I actually work upside down on the clock, so my days go from 10 p.m. to 2 p.m. Typically on a weekly basis. And I'm fortunate enough to be the executive creative director of all the creative works that are being done, show design and theming. So it's a pretty big role, and I work with 7 different countries, all under the Atkins umbrella, designing all of the creative and conceptualization for Six Flags theme park out of Qiddiya in Riyadh. So that's a pretty big honor. I've kind of reached my career peak at this point. That project's probably the hottest ticket on the globe right now when it comes to project like this. It's the first time Six Flags is doing a themed park, because typically they're an amusement park with coasters. This has 7 themed zones, and also the fastest, tallest, and craziest roller coaster that will ever be. I think it goes up to the summit and back down again. It's incredible. I love roller coasters, but this one probably scares the pants off me.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's a great project, and I have really great people. It's not a one-man show. I have hundreds of people that really contribute to the process.
Wow. So you talked a lot about traveling and being all over the world. What has it been like now moving to a remote leadership position and having to manage this really complex, system of creativity remotely? How have you adapted, and how have the teams adapted?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been working remotely a long time, actually. Back in the days when I had my company, I had tried to implement some remote work from there. Obviously, it wasn't the same technology it is today, but I believed in it. And here we are today doing that on a day-to-day basis across the globe. There are challenges creatively. It's very difficult doing creative remotely like this because creative is a group effort. And as a creative director, you're not just coming up with ideas, you're also filtering ideas from contributions from your other team members.
Mm-hmm.
And that is more difficult. You can't sit in a room together and sketch and have a chit chat. It doesn't really work as well that way. So there are challenges to that, but it seems to be working. We had no choice really. We were all put in this position, and you have to learn to do what you can with it. The difference is, my office at home is littered with everything because I have to keep track of so much. I just don't deal with the creative from cool storytelling ideas. I also, have to pick what the design of the fences are. I have to decide with area development what the hardscapes and softscapes are. I have to look right down to the door handles or the trim around the windows and deal with the architect, structural engineering. It's a lot different than just being an artist. It's pretty high demand. I love it. I love what I do, and it really is at the epitome of my career. And I'm fortunate enough to have this opportunity because not a lot of people, not a lot of creative directors get to say that they've created a whole park that was actually built, and it's under construction. It's an incredible site, amazing place. It'll really be something special.
Wow. When is it scheduled to be finished?
That's a tricky question. There are schedules, and we try to stick to them, but there's always things that little bumps in the road. But the goal is to have it open 2.5 to 3 years from now for the world to come and see.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Bradley, I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking time out of what sounds like an extremely busy schedule. And I think you're almost ready to go to bed now to get your sleep before you have to get up tonight. So thank you very much for joining me on Where's Watson. We are so proud of our Red River College alumni, and you're just one example of how Red River can really set the foundation for amazing creative work, but also global impact. So thank you very much for sharing your story with me today.
Thanks very much. I credit a lot to Red River. I'm a big supporter of Red River. I actually taught at Red River for a while, about 6 or 7 years. I've sat on boards on Red River with advertising committees, and I credit a lot to the instructors. They really care. They're passionate. They keep up to date, and gave me a really good start. And when I came out of school, I knew what I was doing already. And, I credit all of them, every single one of them.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Bradley, for joining me today on Where's Watson.
You're welcome. Pleased to meet you. And I look forward to speaking one day again.
You bet. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.